the White House.
The theme overall is renewal of the American dream. The president plans to boast about $1.7 trillion in private sector investments made since he got back here. And one of the main goals is going to be to try to pressure the lawmakers in the room for more money at the border.
And there could be a last-minute addition to the speech, a rare earth minerals deal with Ukraine. Reuters reports that signatures are imminent, and the president has told his staff he wants it done in time for tonight's address. This after Ukraine's President Zelensky posted on social media earlier today the way his meeting with the president ended last week was regrettable, and it's time to make things right.
He said he and his team, quote, stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get lasting peace with Russia, who invaded his country 3 years ago. Zelensky went on to say that Ukraine values what the U.S. has done to help the country maintain its independence and that they're hoping for, quote, constructive future cooperation.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. Tune in to live coverage of the president's speech tonight beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Go to foxnewsradio.com and be sure to get Fox coverage on your radio station as well. Just a day after the Trump administration put them back on the list of terrorist groups, Yemen's Houthi rebels claim they've shot down an American drone. The Pentagon says they have lost contact with an MQ-9 Reaper drone over the Red Sea, but they're still investigating. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau blasting the 25% tariffs imposed by President Trump today on Canadian and Mexican imports.
There is absolutely no justification or need whatsoever for these tariffs today.
The president ordered the tariffs to pressure the countries to improve fentanyl interdiction efforts, but Trudeau says they'll harm American and Canadian consumers. America is listening to Fox News.
During tax season, your personal info travels to a lot of places you can't control. Between payroll, your home office, your tax preparer, and the IRS, if your W-2 gets exposed, that's just the ticket for identity thieves. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every second. If your identity's stolen, they'll fix it guaranteed or your money back. Don't let identity thieves take you for a ride. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code CLAY. Visit LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Spring is finally here, and so are spring projects. So get them started at Harbor Freight's parking lot sale. This weekend, save on products like pressure washers for $69.99, 42-inch roller cabinets for under $500, plus 30% off Hercules corded power tools. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight. Valid until 3/9/25 while supplies last. Limitations apply, so spring in before it's over.
A reported deal would bring some control of the Panama Canal back to the U.S.
An investment group led by BlackRock agreeing to buy the ports of Balboa and Cristobal in Panama from CK Hutchison Holdings, a Hong Kong-based conglomerate. The deal, which must be approved by Panama's government, is valued at nearly $23 billion. The Panama Canal is crucial to connecting the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, the U.S. building it in the early 1900s, but handing control over to Panama in late 1999, a move President Trump has repeatedly criticized. BlackRock's CEO Larry Fink saying in a statement, these world-class ports facilitate global growth. The agreement will also give the investment group control over 41 other ports in 23 countries, including Mexico, Australia, and the Netherlands. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
According to court documents filed today, the Trump administration plans to drop a federal lawsuit pushing for emergency abortions in Idaho, which has a strict ban on the procedure, moving for dismissal of the lawsuit originally filed by the Biden administration. Following oral arguments today, the Supreme Court will decide whether Mexico can sue U.S. gun makers in American courts.
The U.S. Supreme Court heard arguments from Mexico's government as well as from a consortium of U.S. firearms manufacturers being sued over allowing sales to alleged gun traffickers. Attorney Noel Francisco, representing Smith & Wesson and the other gun makers and distributors, refutes Mexico's assertion that products with Spanish names are destined to appeal to criminals.
The notion that selling a Spanish-named firearm is what gives rise to joint purpose with cartels under the aiding and abetting statute is as wrong as it is offensive.
At issue is a U.S. law shielding gun makers from liability when guns are used in crimes. Mexico claims their case is an exception. Eben Brown, Fox News.
At the close, the Dow down 670 points, NASDAQ down 65. I'm Jack Callahan. This is Fox News.
Are you sitting too much? University of Illinois College of Applied Health Sciences PNC Lab is recruiting men and women between 40 and 70 years old with no history of cardiovascular disease to participate in the HIT to Sit Less study. Exercise on a stationary bike for 6 minutes in 30-minute intervals. 3 sessions will be conducted with compensation up to $280. For details, call 217-333-0581 or email pnc-lab@illinois.edu. Help U of I researchers learn more about the relationship between sitting, physical activity, and brain health. In Freer Hall, 906 South Goodwin. Visit publish.illinois.edu/hit-2-sit-less to participate in the HIT to Sit Less study. Publish.illinois.edu/hit-2-sitless.
Hello again, everyone. Let's check weather for Eastern Illinois. Champaign and vicinity. Nice wind-blown, mild start to the day and frequent rounds of showers and a couple of thunderstorms around as the day wears on, especially this afternoon and this evening. That southeast to south wind 15 to 25 miles per hour and gusty above 30. Highs to about 58. More shower and thunderstorm activity around this evening. Overnight ratings down to about 50. South-southwesterly winds 20 to 30 miles per hour and gusty. Tomorrow, note the wind advisory turning cooler as well with periods of rain mixing with some wet snow in the afternoon. Morning high near 50, falling to around 40 by evening time, and at southwest to west wind 25 to 35, gust to 50 miles per hour. Rain and wet snow early tomorrow night, windy, colder, down to 26, and the sun returns though for the day Thursday at 43. A little bit of rain and wet snow Friday morning, a bit of rain in the afternoon at 44, back up into the mid-40s on a dry Saturday. Sunday up near 50 and into the 50s Monday and 60s next Tuesday and Wednesday. For TVJ Broadcasting, I'm meteorologist Greg Solier.
Hey, what's up? It's the Drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Derek Piper, Delonte, Kyle Tosk. How we doing, fellas?
Good. How about you?
Good. Sun's not out, but it's a
now?
nice day. I've been outside a little bit.
It is.
Got the little ones outside for a little while in the backyard, and looking forward to spring.
It's amazing.
No doubt.
It's amazing what that can do for a nap as well.
Yeah,
When you
hopefully. Yeah.
burn off some energy, and it's like let them loose in the backyard.
No doubt.
There's a fence; they can't go anywhere.
The problem is if you want to end up taking a nap more than they do. Like you burn your energy, they don't burn enough of theirs.
Right.
It's like, nap sounds good, and they're like, nope.
Dad. I can. I'll never forget the days. Of course, 7 years apart. So I would I'd get home from radio, and one would be wanting to go shoot outside or play catch. The other one, who couldn't do that yet, wanted me downstairs shooting hoop on the little hoop or whatever. And it's just getting tugged from both ways, and it's like, all right, guys, we have to figure something out here, right?
Difficult.
And I have
Needed
no energy.
you to run up and down. All right, you run out, shoot 5, then you run downstairs and shoot 5, and that's what we should have done.
It is truly amazing when you get. I'm not done with parenting, obviously, but when they get to a certain age that you're kind of done, if you will, you look back and you're like, I don't know how I did that. And then I see people like, well, Stevie had triplets. You see people that had twins. And I'm just like, no, or 3 kids or 4 kids or whatever. I'm like, no, the 2, 7 years apart, the good Lord knew what I needed. He's like, let's do this. Let's give Lon one for 7 and then give him another one and go from there. The only thing I hated about that was having to go back and coach T-ball again and coach pitch. That was brutal. If I never have to be in another T-ball game in my life, although I say that, I can't wait for hopefully grandkids.
Yeah, right. No
then
doubt.
I'll just be out in the outfield laughing at my son who's frustrated coaching him. And I'm just be like, anybody want a beer?
You don't got to be totally invested in every play at that point. Yeah, you can just kind of sit back and laugh.
I get to be the grandparent that's like, you played great. Mommy struck out 3 times. Can we just be honest here? Well, I thought you looked good on that foul ball.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
okay, well, at least
your
you
dad's
hit one.
fault for not putting him in your hot zone.
There you go.
Kept throwing him low and away. And have you guys watched home run derbies before?
It is funny as a coach of coach pitch, how you get to know each child and you kind of understand where you've got to groove it. and you get like 5 pitches, and the first one you're way off. You're just like, we're good.
My bad.
That was me. And the other coach on the other team is just laughing because he's like, oh, nice pitch, Day. I'm like, yeah, thanks. And then the ground ball to third, and 7 people converge on it. It's like, oh, boy, let somebody grab it and throw it. Oh, it's fun. What the heck? See, I'm laughing about it.
No doubt. I know the Cardinals were on this afternoon on ESPN. I didn't get a chance to catch them.
Oh, they were?
Yeah, finally one of their spring training games. For those that, I don't know if they've been on FanDuel Midwest.
A few times.
That's what we call it now.
Yeah.
But
they've been on a few times.
Okay, I need to get that switch because I do the whole outside of baseball season, YouTube TV, inside of baseball season, go to DirecTV stream. And
it's ridiculous. I was excited the day that it was a weekend, and I actually had a chance to sit down. I think it was a weekend. Had a chance to sit down and watch the Cardinals, and I'm like, I'm gonna invest 3 innings in this. I got nothing better to do. I'm gonna relax, watch a little baseball, and that's when J.J. Weatherholt started. And of course, I think early on he flew out or something, but then his next at bat, he had a 3-run homer to left field, and I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna like that kid.
I'm in.
I'm totally invested now in this kid. So they do. I mean, he looks like somebody that could be pretty good. I did hear, I guess I read that Jordan Walker left today's game with a knee.
Oh, awesome.
Great. So, he was doing that crazy thing outfielders do where he was chasing a fly ball and hurt his knee. So that's
I am happy to report. I knew that Michael McGreevy was pitching today. He went 3 scoreless.
That's awesome. He's pretty good.
Against the Nationals, yeah. Pitched well late last year.
He's pretty good.
A guy that if he doesn't get a crack at the rotation immediately will be probably first in line when inevitably.
Steven Matz gets hurt.
I was going to go that way, but it could be anybody, obviously, to get hurt. But, Steven Matz is probably the first among the candidates. I do know that today is a must-win for the Cubs because they had a nice little undefeated streak. They've lost, I believe, 2 in a row.
It's time to bounce back.
And they're playing the Padres. They're up 4-0 right now. But
there you go.
You lose another one, and people are starting to really wonder where this season's going.
That all of a sudden you go from plus 200 winning the Central down to plus 7, and you jump on them, and you say, I'm taking that. I'm taking that right now. Our buddy Kevin Wheeler always does. They do this thing called Gas House Gang. He and Tom Ackerman and what's the other dude's name? Paul, it doesn't matter. He does KMOX at night, and Bernie Micklitz is doing a lot of that now. And I was able to listen to that last night, and they were going through some stuff. So it was good. It just kind of gets you in the right frame of mind. Like you said, you want to at least go into the season with a little bit of hope. Like the hopium, as Jay Lehman would say, you want to have just a little bit of hope. And the Cubs start earlier than anybody, right? You're in Japan?
March 18th in Japan.
Let's get it on.
March 18th? That's 2 weeks from today.
I know.
Yes, it is.
Do you take the whole rotation over? Do you leave like 3 starters back in the States for the? I bet the starter for Game 3 stays back in the States.
That's a good question. You could do that. Although, wouldn't you just want to tag along?
I know.
It's cool.
I know. Just to say you've been. Yeah, I've never been to Japan, so I'd want to say that I've been there. So yeah, I agree. I'd want to tag along. I don't know what the time difference is with United. I know it's easy to look at your phone.
The games start at 5:10 a.m. Central.
Oh wow. Okay.
You know what's crazy? That's probably better for Lon than if it was like
You're right.
11 p.m.
That is right in my wheelhouse.
Be more likely to be able to catch it there at 5.
I usually have potty breaks at 2:30 a.m. and then around 5.
Perfect.
So I'll just stay up. Get the game on, watch first pitch of Major League Baseball. That's a little too much information, isn't it?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm sorry.
It's all good.
I can almost tell you at night when I wake up. I can almost guess
what time it is.
Yeah. And it's usually, and you'll get into this as you get older. It's uncanny how you will go on a stretch of like 2 weeks where you wake up at 3:07. I mean, it is 3:07 every time, and you're like, how? How is this possible? Or like lately, it's been 2:32 a.m. for me. So I don't.
That's wild.
Bar closed. I guess maybe I'm going back to my old days where I'd be getting home at 2:32 in the morning, and now I get up because I've already slept for 6 hours. I'm telling you, how hard it is to not go to bed at like 7:30. Like I told you I started Full Swing. Season 3. Last night I'm sitting at home and I'm like, I could go lay in bed and watch a couple episodes of Full Swing, and then usually about 20 minutes later I'm like, I could just go to bed right now. Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah. I will say that on the note of 2 weeks from today, it'll be quite a day because you'll have the first of the play-in games for the NCAA tournament, along with opening day before opening day for the Cubs and the Dodgers.
Wow,
so
it's a big day.
It's nuts to think that we're less than 2 weeks from Selection Sunday.
It really is.
And that it'll be here. We'll have the brackets. We'll be filling out the brackets. We'll talk about the region, the upsets, and
let's go.
Illinois' path and everything like that. And won't be long. We'll know where they're going. I did want to go through yesterday. We didn't have time. Some of the regional sites for the NCAA tournament, because you asked me off the air, like, "Hey, Pipes, where are you going to be?" I don't exactly know, and it would be just guesswork right now. But some of the options, in case people haven't stumbled across this, you're not going to be in Dayton, which is good news.
That is good news. That is great news.
But some other first and second round sites: Denver, Providence,
that
Rhode
would be
Island.
cool.
I'd be cool with Denver.
Denver, pretty easy flight, right? From
Seems that way.
Wait, can you get there from Champaign? Do they go? No, they go Dallas. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but Denver's not.
Still,
hard
I think
to get to.
Chicago to Denver, probably flying Frontier or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe Southwest goes there.
There you go.
Providence, Rhode Island, Kentucky, that being Lexington at Rupp Arena. The University of Kentucky will not be playing there. So it won't be one of those situations of
Dickie Beal's
them hosting a game, but they are a host site.
Can I stop? When I was younger, like Kyle's age, probably even your age, I would have wanted to go to Lexington. I would have wanted to go to Rupp Arena. At my age now, if you sent me to Providence, Rhode Island, I would love that. I'd just go over there and just kind of sightsee for a couple of days. I've always wanted to be in Rhode. I've always wanted to go up like that East Coast, and things change as you get older.
Wichita, Kansas is another one.
No, zero interest.
Cleveland, Ohio.
Nope, not really.
Milwaukee.
That would be cool. That's on my kind of. So I have two bucket lists. One being like Ryder Cup in Ireland. That's like the big. But then I have like doable bucket list, which is I want to go spend a nice day in Milwaukee, spend a couple days in Milwaukee and go down by the river. And because I've heard so many people that have done that, and it's so doable. It's only like, 3 hours, maybe a little bit more?
It's not even a 4-hour drive. It's maybe 3.5.
So that is one thing that I want to do, and maybe in March the weather might, although you are in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Could be snow. Could be a blizzard that day.
Worst case scenario, you're inside drinking beer and eating cheese curds. Right? I mean,
exactly.
Raleigh, North Carolina, and Seattle are the other two. I've already done Seattle. It's a 3+ hour flight. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good on that.
I bet. Oh.
Personally, I'm rooting for Denver or Milwaukee. I think are my
that
top
would be
two.
Cool. Raleigh, because you could go see the university or the campuses of Duke and
fair.
North Carolina, right? They have to be close to Raleigh, I would assume.
I have to look that up, but yeah.
Raleigh is NC State?
Yep.
Yeah. So those are pretty cool sites. Where would the next four be then?
So the East Regional, the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 would be played in Newark, New Jersey. You have the West, San Francisco, California.
Okay.
The South in Atlanta, and the Midwest in Indy at Lucas Oil Stadium.
Oh, man. It'd be fun even if Illinois is not in Indy, just to go over and watch a game too. Especially if you've never done it. I've been fortunate enough to cover games, and I've been as a fan a couple of times too. But just to go over, and I think sometimes we talk ourselves out of it, and it's like at least, Indy's an hour and a half drive. So you're not spending hardly any money on transportation. So you can spend a little bit more on a ticket. You don't have to go eat at St. Elmo. You don't have to have the best steak in town. But yeah, just to go over, like if you've got kids, take them over and take in a site. If Illinois went to Milwaukee, would they funnel then into Indy?
I'm not sure of that.
Or I guess it's hard to say anymore. It depends on who the one seed is, right, in that region.
I think so.
Is that kind of how they do
it?
it?
Sometimes they will split it across. So a couple of one pod will be from the Midwest, but one pod could easily be in the South or whatever. If I'm not mistaken,
it just depends what region you're in.
Yeah, Kyle has the bracketology pulled up. Do they say? I know they list the first round sites. I don't know how solidified those would be, the first round of the Midwest, but just for an example, give us what Illinois has.
You'll like it.
Illinois is in Milwaukee right now.
7 against San Diego State at 10.
South region.
Opposite Iowa State.
Iowa State being the 2?
Being the 2.
Wow.
That'd be a fun battle, wouldn't it?
Be a lot of fans up there in Milwaukee for that one. Ooh. Illinois and Iowa State.
Let's go. Yeah, that would be packed.
That'd be perfect.
It would be. It really would be. That'd be a great packed gymnasium for that. Gymnasium.
And so Midwest, if Illinois were to get out of there, would go then to Lucas Oil. Who's the 1 seed in that region?
Auburn.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is the South region.
Oh, it's the South.
Oh, it's the South. So
Atlanta would then be
Atlanta.
Yeah, gotcha. My bad on that, Kyle.
It's one of those where you never want to lose to what's his face?
Bruce Pearl.
Right. But when you're kind of the underdog, then do you kind of change your mind a little bit to that, to where you're like, yeah, I'll take a shot at it.
Take a swing at it.
Like, you don't want him to, like when he was at Wisconsin-Milwaukee, when you went to the championship game, right? And you had to come back from the Arizona thing, in other words, that year, you had to beat Wisconsin-Milwaukee and Bruce Pearl.
Yes.
And it was like, going into that game, I was more nervous probably going into that game than any other game, only because the idea that if this season ends to that guy who's like a 12 seed with Wisconsin-Milwaukee, it's almost like you don't want him to have that last laugh. But we currently have the last laugh on Bruce Pearl.
Sure.
So,
in that situation, the pressure is kind of off.
I agree.
If you're the underdog, if you're a team that, like if you're a 7 seed, which if you were to meet the 1, you're playing in an Elite 8.
Right.
Now, I don't think you want to be the team that he then beats to go to the Final Four, where he's climbing ladders to cut nets and they're dropping confetti. And there was all that with, Hurley doing, pre-buzzer celebrations from the sideline. That I know it's not. I'm just comparing.
I know what you're saying.
What he was doing, and then in this situation, you'd have Bruce Pearl doing it. But but it would be kind of fun just to take that swing at it.
Oh man,
Dion on the call, courtside.
I always allow myself one moment of thinking how great it would be if then you pulled the upset and made not only the Final Four, but you made it by beating Bruce Pearl to get there. That would be as satisfying a trip to a Final Four as an Illini fan could write down in a wish list.
Right.
Essentially. Kevin wants to know, if we beat Purdue, does Illinois go to the 6th line? You think probably, and so did Brad, that they might still need to win. Probably still need to win a game in Indy, right, at the Big Ten tournament?
I would think so, yeah.
Okay.
You can't be one and done there and then expect to be a 6. It will depend on what other teams around you, of course, do. But I think that Brad's bracket big board right now has Illinois as a 7.
Okay.
Win a game. On his board, it might move you to a 6. But if you then lose your first game at the Big Ten tournament, probably slots you back down. So kind of the short end of it is, I'd say, win Purdue and then at least 1 at the Big Ten tournament, maybe 2 for insurance. And at that point, why not try to elevate to a 5? Like, why not keep climbing a little bit more and really try to improve your positioning as much as possible?
Is there any credibility with wanting to be the worst, the best 7 seed compared to the worst 6? Do you know what I'm saying?
I do.
Like, I don't know how they do it. I know it's not easy math to do a bracket when there's a lot on the tournament committee's plate, right? They can't put Illinois at the 7 opposite Michigan State at a 2, in other words. Like stuff like that they have to go through, and that's going to stop the easy flow of, well, this would be perfect. So, for instance, if Tennessee, let's say, is the 4th one, then if you go in as the top 7, would you fall automatically into that bracket? But I don't think it's that easy.
I don't know if it's that simple. Yeah.
I don't think
I get what you're saying, too, because if you're the best 7, are you in the same bracket as the lowest 2?
Right.
For like a potential second-round game.
Good point. Or if you're the worst 6, are you then in there with the best 2 that you'd have to face? So I don't know. I think it's too hard to just automatically guarantee that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because there's too many – well, first of all, there's too many storylines they love.
Of course, yeah. That always pops up. They got to do it.
Is that West Virginia, Illinois the perfect storyline early for this one?
Pretty good one.
With Sincere and Chester.
If Illinois stays off the 8-9, Because if they're an 8-9, then it might be Illinois-UConn rematch.
Oh, boy. Which...
Not saying you should be terrified of that.
No, not at all.
I would rather not play Hurley.
Yeah, I'm good with that
in the first round.
I know. Boy, that would be fun to beat him.
It'd be fun. Yeah.
I don't have this angst towards him, but he is weird. Like I think he's just strange. Is that bad? Like I think he's got something wrong with him.
His wiring's a little different than
Just a
the
little bit
normal, the
different.
normal person. I think that's fair to say. I think most people would agree with that, even probably Dan Hurley.
I think Bobby would
Yeah,
probably agree
right.
with that.
I don't know. Like Kansas lost again last night. I think they've obviously been falling down seed lines. Would they get to the 8-9 game? I don't know about that. If they lose their final, they have one more regular season game, I believe.
Who's going to win the Big 12?
Houston.
Oh, that's right.
They're
I'm sorry.
18-1.
Okay. I forgot. Yeah.
If Kansas were to lose at home to Arizona this weekend, by the way, that would be a 10-10 Big 12 record for Bill Self.
Wow.
Unheard of.
Wow.
And if they
I'd
lost,
fire him.
If they lost then in the Big 12 tournament first round, maybe they are an 8.
I could see that. He's probably getting the benefit though, right? Kansas is getting that
Maybe
plus 7.
They haven't beaten they've only beaten one tournament team since the start of December. It was a really good one in Iowa State.
Well,
they're in Lawrence, but outside of that, they have not.
Is it as big of a deal if you beat a team in your conference? So, for instance, if Illinois had a just random win over Iowa State this year, that would be a great victory. We know that, right? Same as Kansas. But the idea that you play them in your conference, is it as big of a win? Does that make sense? So, like Michigan State, let's say Illinois would have beaten Michigan State. Let's say Kansas would have beaten Michigan State. And Illinois beats Michigan State. Is it look better for Kansas to go out of conference and beat Michigan State than it does Illinois to beat a team you're probably going to play twice anyway in the conference and at home?
I think it matters where you play them.
Okay.
Like if you played them in conference and you went to East Lansing and beat them, I think that's better looking than Kansas and Michigan State, say, in Maui.
That's fair.
Whereas, like, I don't mean to downplay the fact that I said, oh, well, they just beat Iowa State.
Right. It's still a good
win.
But
it was at Fog Allen, so I think that takes a little bit of that where maybe if Illinois played them at an MTE or played them at the Garden or something, I think it matters where you square up with them. Again, beating Iowa State is a good win, but we're grown accustomed to Bill Self just beating almost everybody in the Big 12. So to only beat one tournament team, they've had plenty of chances. Houston, BYU, Texas Tech, on down the line here. And not that it's the top conference in the country like it was a couple of years ago, but that's just kind of where you look at them. They've had a very underwhelming season.
It's funny, and this is why we hope the committee does their job, right? Because they take the fan out of, they're not fans. Does that make sense? Because, like, I wonder to a Kansas fan, like a win over Iowa State to them is probably, even though they're studious, they're good fans, they understand what that win means in the grand scheme of things. But their whole life, they probably would have pounded Iowa State most of their life. So it'd be almost like, who would be a team in the Big Ten that would all of a sudden rise to like Iowa State, how they've done in the last like 5 or 6 years? I'm trying to think of a comp in the Big Ten because Iowa State really has come on strong. I'm just trying to think who that would be, because then it'd be like if you were always beating Nebraska, and then all of a sudden Nebraska's like like a 2 seed, and you beat Nebraska. Well, for an Illinois fan, you're like, well, we should beat Nebraska. You know what I'm saying? Even though they're really good this year.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I
mean, for a while there, you would have to go back a ways because they've been well established for quite some time. Wisconsin was that.
Yeah,
right?
That's a good point.
You look at Wisconsin pre-late 90s, probably,
Mm-hmm.
and then you beat them in the early 2000s. Like, yeah, we usually have beaten Wisconsin, but it's a totally different program under Bo Ryan, and then obviously it's extended forward.
I've got one other thing for you because I'm just bringing in hypotheticals. And that, would you rather be Danny Hurley and have won 2 national titles, 2 or 3?
2 in a row, 2. Yeah.
2 in a row. Or would you rather have been Bobby Hurley and you had like this unbelievable career in college and you won national titles. I think he probably won 2 at least with Duke. At the end of the day, when you both get to be 60 years old and you're sitting around the Christmas tree with the family, who's got the better bragging rights? Because Bobby has not done well as a coach.
Right.
Certainly, well, he's had his moments, but he hasn't done anything close to what Danny has done.
Yeah. 2-time national champion as a player, 91 and 92. The Final Four's most outstanding player in 1992. Consensus All-American in 1993. He was a 7th overall pick in the NBA draft in 93. Ended up playing about 5 to 6 years in the NBA.
And then meanwhile, Danny played at Seton Hall or something, or did he even? I know he played, but he didn't have anywhere near the playing career.
That's a good question. I think that the instinctual thing, to answer is the player side.
I agree.
To take the player.
Like, I'm the better athlete.
Right.
Just to look across the room at your brother and be like, dude, I'm the better athlete.
But we're now 30 years removed from those guys being players.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle doesn't even know that Bobby Hurley played basketball.
I mean, he was too young to watch Bobby Hurley play at Duke.
And not only that, but that team with Grant Hill that little era with Hill and Leitner and all those guys, right? It was just like they were so polarizing and so popular that it was more than just winning a national title. They were like probably as well known. I mean, they were probably known around the world. And it's, that is, I don't know. I just thought of that as we were talking about that. I'm like, I wonder what I'd rather have. But you're right. The player would be
I think maybe, so the Thanksgiving dinner table, you want to be the player.
Okay. That's fair.
Because even you can make the, all right, your life's pretty good, but I was the McDonald's All-American. I got the rings as a player. I beat you in the driveway day in and day out type of thing. The day-to-day life, the better one right now is Dan Hurley.
Without a doubt.
He just had the Lakers calling him and trying to get him to go to that job.
Wow.
And he's at the top of the sport.
I assume both won high school titles because their dad was like this unbelievable high school coach, right, that won title after title in New Jersey or something. So, gosh, what? Imagine just that table, whether you like the Hurleys or not, just sitting there going around that table like, hey, you remember when we won state? Blah, blah. Hey, you remember when I won that national title? Hey, you remember when I took that team to the national? You're just like, okay, enough.
You probably haven't seen the show The Bear.
I haven't.
Have you heard of it?
No.
It's about a restaurant in Chicago, but it's a very contentious family. A lot of tempers run hot. I can think of there's a Christmas dinner where these family members are getting into it, and one of them ends up throwing a fork, and they're throw the fork again and see what happens, and he just slowly winds up and throws the fork, and then things explode.
Boom.
And that I could see that being our Hurley Christmas or Thanksgiving.
Turkey's on the floor.
Yeah,
Mom is just ready to beat somebody's
crazy.
Dogs barking, trying to bite people. Yeah, I could definitely see that. I've never heard of that show. Is it a movie or a show?
It's a show on FX.
Oh, I need to watch that.
It's pretty good.
I need to watch that. All right. Well, sorry. I'll Yeah, Scott said move up, maybe get Akron in the first game. Now, that would be a tournament special. Yeah. What was the 1 year?
That'd be intriguing. I'd like to see that.
Was there anything better than the 1 year when you played and beat UNLV with Lon Kruger and then played and lost to Bill Self in round 2?
I remember that. Yep.
3 Illinois coaches. Of course, Weber at the time was the coach. He had 3. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had 3 Illinois coaches in the same 4-team bracket.
Yeah, and similar to what you were saying with Pearl, that with Illinois being, what are they were the 8, I think, UNLV the 9, Kansas the 1.
Yep.
You play Kansas, and yeah, it stings a little bit that it's Self and he's beating you and whatnot. Maybe rekindles some of the hurt feelings of before, but you're kind of just taking your swing at them.
Right.
And no expectation that you should win.
The Morris twins.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right, but still.
Yeah, then it's kind of he is better off, isn't he? Dang it.
I never hated Self, but I don't want to play and lose to him. I don't.
Right.
I mean, I always call it like the instant inflammation or even though that's not the right word, of when the Cardinals and Cubs play their very first game of the year. And it's like, first pitch at 7:05, and we all sit here and joke about, the Cubs and Cardinals, they're not very good, and it'll be fun to watch, get them back together. And by 7:06, I am pacing, like throwing stuff against the wall, hating Ian Happ, hating everything I can about anybody on that Chicago team. They take a cutaway of a Cub fan, and I'm like, oh, look at typical Chicago dude. Now, I don't even know what that means, but that would be me, be like, oh, look at the smirk. Yeah, like you've done anything. It takes literally 1 minute for me to immediately go into this absolute rage of hatred towards the Cubs. And then once the game's over, probably not that night, especially if the Cubs won. The next day, I kind of settle back down. I'm like, okay, this ought to be fun. Game 2 tonight. And then it's just immediately right back at it. Does anybody else get like that? Or is that just me?
It doesn't take me long to hate the Cardinals.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that's fair. Especially, I bring into mind anytime the Packers play the Bears.
Oh.
And immediately, that's just like,
yeah.
You see the green and the gold, and like, all right, this is disgusting.
They come out with an overview of Lambeau. It's like, Lambeau Field, and you're immediately like, oh, what a trash place.
I mean, yeah. I
Burn
do respect
that place.
That's
no, I know.
I've always wanted to see a game there, but
very cool. I was glad I did.
It's like, I'm watching a movie that I'm going to hate again. So that's just
Does the guy beat Karate Kid again?
Yeah. So, all right, 217-359-2255. A little hodgepodge opening segment. I am looking forward, and we will talk more about it as we go along. Another domino to fall in Illini football recruiting.
Yes.
Where they get another in-state get for Brett Bielema and company to push momentum forward. And Joey Wagner's going to join us top of the 4 o'clock hour to talk about that. Talk about Art Sitkowski gets a little promotion.
Yeah.
Joey was also at the NFL Combine to watch Pat Bryant, so we can
Was he really?
talk to him about that as well. And I did a little bit of work as far as different scenarios in the Big Ten tournament that I wanted to bring to the table. It can get I don't want to go too deep into it because there's just so much if this, that, this. This is where it stands, but we can explore some of it. There are a couple of games tonight that will matter a little bit as far as positioning goes.
It seems like because I put pen to paper today, again. It only seems like there's 2 games left that there's not, to me, a clear favorite because that guy, that team is at home. Mm-hmm. There's a couple in there where you're like, I think Iowa's one of them. They're like at Nebraska or something. And it's like, I could maybe see Iowa win that. And then it makes a difference kind of where, I'm anxious to hear what you did with this.
We can talk about the next and then get to football at the top of the 4 hour.
Perfect.
Hit us on the text line. We'll get to those as we go along. It is The Drive.
From computer systems to brakes and tires too, at PDR, fixing cars is what they do. Remember, when you turn the key and the car won't run, call 367-9481 or use their dedicated text-only line at 383-0619. Additional information including repair quotes and online scheduling requests available from the website at pdrauto.com. Remember, they are what's best for your truck or car. They are PDR.
Illinois basketball season is underway. Single game tickets to see your Fighting Illini at State Farm Center are on sale now at fightingillini.com. Great seats are still available. Lock in your tickets for big games against Big Ten opponents before they're gone. Don't miss your chance to see the winningest team in the Big Ten Conference over the last 5 years. Be part of the atmosphere and get tickets at fightingillini.com.
Okay, Tim Onstad in charge of Dedicated Diesel and Gail Frericks Trucking. Where are we with Dedicated Diesel?
Yeah, we need to get over to the Dedicated Diesel and get those Dixie choppers out. I am instructing Andy over there, whatever Dixie choppers are there right now, to show people what we have invested in them, what our cost is, go $400 over that, and it's theirs.
When it comes to the mowers, you can really get things done quickly on the Dixie chopper, right?
That's for sure.
Oh, yeah. I cut mine down by about 2/3 going from a conventional garden tractor riding mower to a zero-turn Dixie chopper went, from 3 hours to under an hour.
And how do we reach Andy?
You can get Andy at 217-328-0562. Catch him on Dedicated Equipment on Facebook. Email him at abowman, BOWMAN, @gftlog.com.
You've set your financial goals. One kid plans to go Big Ten, the other Ivy. Your bucket list includes seaside sunrises and sunsets on the slopes, or perhaps a second home away from it all. Busey Bank can help develop the right investment strategy to take charge of the years ahead. Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth since 1868. Proud to be the official bank of the Fighting Illini. Member FDIC.
At ABC, it's your chance to get that air conditioner and furnace you've needed. ABC Heating and Air Conditioning can now offer 12 months same as cash, 9.9% financing, or up to $2,000 cash back on residential Amana units. Whether you need a furnace and or air conditioner, you can take advantage of this deal through the end of March. ABC means always be comfortable. Let locally and family-owned ABC take care of you. Call Gina today at 217-352-5400 or visit abcheatingandac.com.
At Carpet Weavers Flooring and Furniture Gallery, we're flooring people with amazing service, great design advice, and unbeatable selection and the best prices in town. It's the perfect time to update your home with waterproof flooring, carpet, hardwood, tile, and more. Then complete your rooms by shopping our incredible selection of furniture and accessories. We also offer great financing options. Carpet Weavers Flooring and Furniture Gallery, we're flooring people.
Get the roof your home deserves by Roof Doctors, your residential roofing specialist that has always offered the best warranties in the industry, like our non-prorated 50-year warranty. Our customers love that we are family-owned and locally operated. We make our customer needs our top priority. With over 30 years experience and the best customer service, give Roof Doctors a call today for your free estimate at 328-7529. In your community and for your community, Roof Doctors.
Back on the drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. All right, let's get to a couple of these Big Ten tournament scenarios. I went a little crazy with the generator this afternoon just to see what I guess I underestimated what the different possibilities are at this point. Still, some teams still have 2 games remaining, so there's a lot at play here. You do kind of assume some things just to get a baseline of, all right, this is the real window.
So you didn't do pen to paper. You did simulator.
I did the simulator.
Okay, so I've lost a little respect to you.
Okay, that's fair.
Then the old school.
I
just
do
get
have
out
this
the yellow
extensive, like, if this, then this on the old
back.
Google Doc here.
You're back. No, I'm kidding.
But no,
you didn't get out the yellow legal pad like I do.
I didn't do that. Nope. Saved the ink. Just got on the laptop. Figured it was easier to do.
You did it in 5 minutes, and mine took 30.
I will say, though, even as a 20-year-old, I still fill out the actual bracket.
Heck yes.
Pen paper.
Oh,
I love doing
you gotta
that.
do that.
That is still, that will go on forever.
You got to print them out. You got to do
I
the
agree.
pen.
Agree.
No doubt. All right. Best possible seed for Illinois is a 4.
Really?
But it would take absolute madness. And I don't want to spend too much time on some of the things that won't happen, but just for anyone curious, this is what would have to happen for Illinois to get a 4. Number one, you got to beat Purdue, obviously.
Yep, that's fair.
Purdue would have to lose out. They'd have to lose tonight at home to Rutgers and then in Champaign.
Okay.
Possible.
Yeah.
Here's where it gets really unlikely. Wisconsin would also have to lose out. They're at Minnesota and then home against Penn State.
Oh.
So that's not going to happen. Oh, and by the way, UCLA would have to lose to USC.
Oh, boy.
So that's all that would need to happen to get a 4.
Just to get a 4.
Yeah.
So book it.
Okay. A 5 is possible, but you'd need either Purdue or Wisconsin to lose out and UCLA to also lose. Watching Rutgers at Michigan, watching Purdue here recently, it's not totally crazy to think that Ace Bailey and
Yeah.
Dylan Harper could go into Mackey and beat them, and then Illinois beats them.
And Penn State smoked Purdue earlier this year.
That's true.
But that was was that at Mackey?
That was
no, that was at Penn State.
out east. Yep.
Okay.
So that's a 5. I would still say highly unlikely that happens. It looks like the most reasonable outcome, 6 to 8, seems where
enough.
you're really standing in there. For a 6, you need to beat Purdue and either have UCLA lose to USC. UCLA right now is ahead of you in the standings.
Yes.
Which isn't a crazy outcome. UCLA hasn't been playing awesome. USC has lost, 4 or 5 in a row, though?
Yeah, they've looked bad.
And they're now in Quad 3 territory for Illinois. We've been over that.
Because we beat UCLA, right?
Yes.
Yes, that's right. Or Illinois did, excuse me.
Yep.
Professional.
So UCLA loses or Rutgers loses Purdue loses both to Rutgers and to you. And looking at a couple of these,
that's the only way we get a 6.
If I'm assuming then like Wisconsin's not going to lose out.
No.
If
no.
they would, then that adds another
Okay,
layer of how it would happen. But beat Purdue and then either UCLA loses to USC so you can pass them, or Purdue loses out so you can pass them.
Okay, those aren't going to happen.
Right.
Okay.
So then you're looking at 7 or 8. It, of course, would be nicer to be on the 7 line, I think, ultimately, as far as some of the matchups go. Just to give you a few of them, I'll tell you which one is my favorite. How about we do this first?
Okay.
Beat Purdue and UCLA loses to USC. Illinois is the 6. They'd play the winner of Northwestern and Rutgers on Thursday. Rutgers could be a little dangerous that you wouldn't particularly want to see. Then you'd face the 3 seed, who would either be Purdue or Michigan, depending on that Michigan-Maryland game in Ann Arbor coming up is going to be a big one.
Okay.
If Maryland were to win, you'd face Michigan. If Michigan wins, you'd face Purdue in that scenario.
Okay.
Am I spinning your head yet? I
No.
probably feel like I am.
I'm still with you on this.
One scenario that I don't like, and we've been over this a little bit, if you lose to Purdue,
okay,
and Indiana splits these next 2, it's Illinois the 8, Indiana's the 9. You're facing them first game on a Thursday in Indy, and then if you beat them, which you could, obviously, you'd be expected to, you'd face 1 seed Michigan State. But we've been over Indiana, hungry, home state, tournament that they're playing for.
And it's not a quad 1 win for Illinois.
That's true.
Right?
That adds to it, right? So that would be something I would want to avoid. And then 1 seed Michigan State, I'd rather try to face Michigan again. Or
right.
I will say I think Indiana's probably safe in the tournament if they
fair.
split the last 2, so they might not be playing technically to get into the tournament. Maybe to get out of the play-in, though, which is still...
It's a good point.
Yeah, that's true. I know my
Good
Armageddon idea that I had texted to you guys that one day had Illinois playing Indiana, and it was the lose-lose because, well, first of all, yeah, like you said, you're playing Indiana, a hungry Indiana team in the state of Indiana, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. But number 2, if you beat them, you don't get there's no notoriety for that, right? And then all of a sudden you got to play a Michigan State team again for a 3rd time, and it's like, although that'd be kind of fun.
It'd be a fun game.
It would be a fun game.
And then the potential to get revenge on the revenge. Because you were playing for revenge here in Champaign, and then you didn't score for 8.5 minutes straight.
We doubled down.
Now we need to double revenge it. Triple stamp with double stamp.
Exactly.
You can't do that, Lloyd. But yeah, you try to see if that can happen. I think the most likely. Would you guys agree? I feel like as of today, I would pick Indiana to lose tonight at Oregon.
Yes.
And beat Ohio State in Bloomington.
I had them at 10-10, right? That would put them at 10-10.
I believe that's right.
I think that's right. Okay.
If that happens, if Illinois beats Purdue, which Illinois right now is short favorite, if you look at the KenPom, and UCLA handles their business against USC, Illinois is the 7. They'd play the winner of Ohio State and USC.
Okay.
And then 2 seed either Michigan or Maryland, depending on who wins that game.
I don't mind that scenario.
Right. And I would hope that Michigan wins in that scenario. I would rather play Michigan than Maryland again.
Yes. Is Ohio State a quad 1 win?
Yep.
Okay. I want anything that's going to give Illinois a chance at a quad 1 win. Now that you've beaten Michigan.
Right.
Now that you're all in now. I mean, you can't try to drop. You're not dropping below an 8 and a 9 now. You're either going to be an 8 and a 9 as your worst, and then hopefully something better. So, And if you beat Purdue and then have a chance to beat another quad one win in Ohio State, I think you're for sure then
a 6,
a 7 for sure, and maybe a 6.
Yeah, for sure.
That would be the best path because then you'd have a chance. Again, the Indiana thing is a lose-lose because you don't. Even if you beat him, it's not that big of a deal. You just didn't do anything wrong.
True.
So
that's a good point. Yeah, 2 more quad one wins if you were to beat Purdue and then say beat Ohio State in the first round. And if then you were facing Michigan, which I don't want to overreact and be like that version that we saw this past weekend is who Michigan is, and that Illinois would annihilate them again. I just would rather face them than Maryland. I think that's based on the physicality of Maryland. Derek Queen, I feel like, would post Kylan Boswell if that was going to be it. Now, the ultimate hope is that Merez Johnson truly is ready to go for the Big Ten tournament, and that's a matchup that I would feel pretty comfortable about. And Maryland's guards have played a lot better than Michigan's, I feel like.
Pretty good. So let me ask you this. I say to you, Derek, Merez Johnson will be back for the Big Ten tournament, and he's good to go. Would you then rather play Michigan again right after you just beat them, or would you rather face Maryland with Merez and with Ivisic, knowing that the reason they beat you was those 2 big guys underneath, Queen and
Reese.
And
the 62 points in the paint when Tommy wasn't available. I would rather face Michigan.
I think I would rather face Maryland.
You would?
I think. Only, I guess it's my fear of you just hammered Michigan, and can you really? Well, I'm not expecting you to hammer Michigan again, but I don't know though.
Kyle, where are you?
I'd rather face Michigan.
Okay, I think you're right. I know both of you are correct. Anybody that's given Damari Burnett extended playing time, I'd rather face them.
That's fair. Is it worse than starting Sky Clark as your point guard?
Why do I just have this fear of Wolf, like, taking that one personal?
I mean, he's really good.
He is good, right? Of him just saying, I got embarrassed on national TV. Was that on national TV?
CBS.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hello. I got embarrassed on national TV by a 6'2" guard. And I am not having that happen again. Either way.
To me, it's just the guard play. Maryland's got Gillespie and then 2 40% shooters to go along with the 2 big guys.
That's fair.
I'm not all that scared of Michigan's players aside from the 2 bigs.
And I think at that point you would have had a win at Michigan, a win over Purdue, and a win against, let's say, Ohio State. So 3 quad 1 wins and a quad 1A?
Quad 1A for at Michigan, yeah.
So at that point, I don't just tip it up and go and let's see who we
– sure.
With either team at that point. It'd just be a bonus.
No doubt.
That's interesting.
This Purdue game really does loom large. It sets the tone for where the floor is for your seed in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
And just you would have a 3-game winning streak going to the Big Ten tournament with reasons to have quite a bit of confidence that this team is back.
Right. And if you're wondering if Purdue has anything to play for, they're still trying to avoid they're still trying to get that double bye by getting into the top 4.
Yeah.
So Purdue has a lot to play for as well.
Right.
Including seeding. Where would they be projected right now? Like a 3?
In the Big Ten
I'm sorry, in the NCAA.
They're a 4 right now.
4. And they probably want to get off that line.
Yep.
As much as you want to get off 8-9.
Yep. Yeah, and my fear would be you lose to Purdue, lose the first game of the Big Ten tournament, then you're back to an 8, I think.
I think you're right.
So we can talk more about that as we go along. Let's shift gears to football. We'll wrap up this hour and then get to Joey Wagner at the top of the 4 o'clock hour. But we'll take a quick break and then take a look at what Brett Bielema has done with this 2026 class. Pretty exciting up to this point. Stick around for that. It is The Drive.
You've heard about the doggy bag, right? From Bulldog Disposal Muhammad, a 6 cubic yard canvas bag that can be used for easy cleanup instead of a big dumpster. The one-time use bag is now available, and you can save the delivery charge. Get the doggy bag at Do It Best Hardware in Champaign at 107 West Springfield. So fill up the bag, call Bulldog Disposal, have it disposed of, and you'll be organized. Go Go to bulldoggybag.com for all the details. That's bulldoggybag.com.
Illinois basketball season is underway. Single game tickets to see your Fighting Illini at State Farm Center are on sale now at fightingillini.com. Great seats are still available. Lock in your tickets for big games against Big Ten opponents before they're gone. Don't miss your chance to see the winningest team in the Big Ten Conference over the last 5 years. Be part of the atmosphere and get tickets at fightingillini.com.
Jets Pizza is offering a special deal when you spend $25. Just use promo code 5ADD. That's the number 5ADD and specify Jets bread or cinnamon sticks for only $5. Combine that with their current $5 off pizza promos and you can cheer on the Illini while enjoying hot pizza with your favorite Jets bread or cinnamon sticks. What a deal. You spend $25, enter 5ADD for Jets bread or cinnamon sticks for just $5. Jets, better because it has to be.
Back on the drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Casey Toman out of Olney, Illinois, commits to the Illini. 6'7", 300-pound offensive tackle.
He's huge.
Which I just learned during one of the breaks today that Andrew Tay had to guard him in a basketball game, which crazy.
I told you I dropped Mom off. It was real cold that night, and I usually drop her off at the front door, and then I go park. And she had gotten in there, gotten her seat, and by then both teams were in their huddle, and I had forgotten that he played for basketball for Olney. And Mom's like, there is a young man I do not want my grandson guarding. And that was when J.C. Anderson, or a big guy, wasn't playing yet. And sure enough, I was like, oh, wow. He is all of 6'7", 3 whatever. He is a big put-together kid. So I'm excited that Illinois nailed him down.
Those are the kind of gets that I expected when Brett Bielema was taking over. And then, of course, you get some momentum going. And I know that Kirk Ferentz wanted him at Iowa, which that's always a good barometer of, yeah, I'd like that.
I love it.
I'd like an offensive lineman that Iowa was trying to reel in.
Exactly. A tackle for the future. Now, he's playing against not the best competition.
Sure.
So it's going to take probably some time to get him up to speed, but pretty.
Brett knows how to mold him.
Yes, he
in that
does.
Position.
Shout out to Joel Beasley sending in the SIU baseball is ranked number 1 in RPI in the nation.
Nice.
Out of all NCAA. Do it like a big dog.
Had to get that in.
Mm-hmm. We do have a couple with the Mount Zion.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
So tonight, by the way, Champaign Central plays at Decatur Eisenhower. Central will play Chatham-Glenwood. Should be a fun game. Central upset MacArthur. That should be a fun game. The winner then would play Friday for the sectional final against either Mount Zion, who Andrew plays on, or Lincoln. Personally, I think Mount Zion is maybe the better team in terms of talent, but we all know what Lincoln, they play that little soft 1-2-2 press, and then they they suck back into that 3-2 now is what they're playing. So they'll try to, they slow the game down. Even if they lose, they lose 40-36. And I know the last 2 games, Mount Zion has scored 66 and 65. They want to get out and go. So it should be an interesting game. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to say that Mount Zion will win, but I'm not putting any bulletin boards out there. I don't know. What do I know? My son isn't, he's not out here chirping that. So, but I think Mount Zion's really good. They can hurt you 3 different ways, including JC underneath. And then Lincoln Coaster, who's going on to play college, he can score 25 any night. And Sam Driscoll can hit shots. And Andrew does his thing, 6 points, 8 rebounds.
Take it.
Now, Andrew, don't get to 10. Don't you make the Tay name look too good. I'm kidding. He does his thing, He does his thing. He looks cute on the court.
He looks cute.
That's what he does.
That's what the girls say. J.C. Anderson, of course, number 3 in the class in the state of Illinois. Illinois has now, I think, 3 or 4 top 20 guys. I think it's 3, but a chance, obviously, hopefully a very good one at J.C. Anderson. This year, Rankin's the number 1 ranked player in the state. They have a crystal ball in for Illinois right now, and they've done a good job. So momentum in the state and overall right now, it's early, but if you look at the 2026 class, by 24/7 and also the composite rankings, 5th best class in the country to this point in 2026.
That's amazing.
And the latest edition with Casey Tolman adds to that. We'll talk to Joey Wagner coming up next about the class.
Oh, and if you're interested, JC just smiles at me when I talk to him.
All right.
He gives me no indication. Just in case you think I know
Yeah,
something,
sure,
I do
sure.
not.
Joey on recruiting, Art Sikowski promotion, NFL Draft Combine, and more coming up next. It is The Drive.
You're listening to WSJK ESPN 93.5 Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Security urging lawmakers in the room to pony up the dough to make crossings safer. And there's going to be a big attempt to reassure nervous markets about these new 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico. And we do expect President Trump to talk at least a little bit about his plan to end the war in Ukraine.
Fox's Peter Ducey at the White House. Reuters reports final agreement on a rare earth minerals deal with Ukraine is close and could be announced during the speech. Ukraine's President Zelensky posting on social media his clash with the president last week is regrettable, and he's ready to come to the negotiating table to work under what he called Trump's strong leadership to bring peace, adding nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians. About those tariffs imposed today by President Trump, Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau reacting angrily.
He is rapidly going to find out, as American families are going to find out, that that's going to hurt people on both sides of the border.
Trudeau ordering matching 25% tariffs on some American imports. President Trump threatening to hike U.S. tariffs even further. Mexico's President Sheinbaum says her response will be announced at a rally on Sunday. Wall Street tariffs weighing heavily again today. The Dow dropping 670 points. NASDAQ closed down 65 points. The S&P 500 lost 72 points. That erased nearly all of the S&P 500's post-election gains. America is listening to Fox News.
During tax season, your personal info travels to a lot of places you can't control. Between payroll, your home office, your tax preparer, and the IRS, if your W-2 gets exposed, that's just the ticket for identity thieves. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every second. If your identity's stolen, they'll fix it guaranteed or your money back. Don't let identity thieves take you for a ride. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code CLAY. Visit LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Spring is finally here, and so are spring projects. So get them started at Harbor Freight's parking lot sale. This weekend, save on products like pressure washers for $69.99, 42-inch roller cabinets for under $500. Plus, 30% off Hercules corded power tools. Whatever you do, do it for less at Harbor Freight. Valid until 3/9/25 while supplies last. Limitations apply, so spring in before it's over.
The Department of Government Efficiency and the Pentagon issuing a report on waste in the military.
The Department of Defense and DOJ say they've found $80 million in waste in the defense budget. DoD spokesperson Sean Parnell says a good portion of that money comes from DEI programs, including $2 million earmarked by the Air Force for holistic DEI transformation and training. Parnell saying, quote, "This is not what we do. This is a distraction from our core mission." Parnell says the Department of Defense is working closely with the Department of Government Efficiency to trim fat and make the military more lethal. In Washington, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
Pentagon says it's lost contact with an MQ-9 Reaper drone over the Red Sea. The Houthi rebels in Yemen claim they've shot it down just a day after being returned to the administration's list of terror groups. Egypt's President El-Sisi says a summit of Arab leaders meeting in Cairo today endorses Egypt's plan for the reconstruction of Gaza and picking a politically independent committee to temporarily govern the territory. Just days before we spring back to daylight savings time, many Americans say they don't want the twice-yearly time changes.
A new Gallup poll reveals more people favor landing on one time system without gaining or losing an hour. So which one did respondents prefer? 48% want to fall back to just standard time when it gets darker earlier. Half that, 24%, prefer to just spring forward when daylight lasts deeper into the day. Fewer than 20% say they just prefer to stick with changing their clocks. In a separate question, 54% said they don't like daylight saving time with its later sunsets. Last December, President Trump said he wanted to end daylight saving time, calling it inconvenient and costly to the nation. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
And I'm Jack Callahan. This is Fox News.
Hello again, everyone. Let's check weather for Eastern Illinois, Champaign and vicinity. And it's an active weather pattern the next 36 hours and a mild one going into next week, a real spring feel. And a bit of that in the air for the day today with several rounds of showers and a couple of thunderstorms, too. Highs at 58, some 60-degree weather south and southwest of Champaign. And southeast to south wind 15 to 25 miles per hour and gusty, up to 30 miles per hour for tonight. Occasional showers, thunderstorms around this evening. Lows down near 50. Tomorrow, windy but turning cooler. Periods of rain. There may be a rain-snow mixture in the afternoon and some wet snow early tomorrow night. 50 and falling temperatures tomorrow, and a southwest to west wind gusting to 50 miles per hour. Lows tomorrow night down to 26. Sunshine back in for the day on Thursday at 43. Another fast-moving, weaker system brings a bit of rain here on Friday. Maybe a little snow mix in the morning hours with a high near 44. Mid-40s Saturday, up near 50 on Sunday, into the 50s on Monday. 60s expected next Tuesday and Wednesday. For CVJ Broadcasting, I'm meteorologist Greg Solier.
It is the Drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Let's talk some football, shall we? But also we can throw in some hoops with our good buddy Joey Wagner, IlliniInquirer.com, joining us now on the Tapman's Towing phone line. What's up, Joey? Long time no see, man. How you doing?
You know, I was going to say, I think this is the longest I've gone without seeing you since the start of basketball season. I haven't seen you since Sunday. I think the Iowa game was on a Sunday. It's been a little bit, Pipe.
I know, right? We got to get back together. Coming up on, I guess, Thursday, media availability for basketball probably be the time to do it. Although you'll be in Indy, won't you?
I'll be in Indianapolis. I'll see you when I see you. I'm thinking we'll probably have to reconnect in Indy at some point.
Shoot. This is getting out of my comfort zone, man. I don't know how we're gonna move on, but there is two basketball programs.
You're probably a lot happier, a lot less hate in your life.
No.
Without me complaining for hundreds of miles on end.
Fair enough. There is two basketball programs playing for a lot this time of year. Things happen on the football side. It's an exciting time of year. So I guess where do you want to start? What do you want to talk about first? I know that's kind of my job here, but where do you want to go?
Well, let's start with football. It was the news of the day. I think the biggest news, obviously, is Illinois promoting Art Sikowski to co-quarterbacks coach. We've kind of thrown this around, definitely on the podcast and within ourselves, since Clint Sinham, we'll say, took the job at Colorado State, but I think you obviously can see the writing on the wall and clearly didn't seem like a fit in Champaign anymore with him. It's like, hey, Art's a guy they really, really value. You know, just in talking to people in the building, recruits who Art connects with, just watching him go about his job, that he's somebody who's got a really high ceiling. He's kind of got a rocket strapped to him right now, and he's going to get there fast. So how do you keep this guy around? And we give him a co-quarterback's job that's going to come with a pay raise. And I just think that's a really big move and a move for Brett Bielema to show how much he values his young assistant. I mean, Art's still 24 years old, not that long ago going in against Iowa, right, and helping hold off a win in 2022. Just significant move for this football program and for Art, and it shows really how highly they think of him.
Yeah, we had him on the air. I think it was either before last season or during the year before that he was on the air with us, and just a magnetizing personality. It seemed like you, of course, had been around him when he was a player and probably talked to him a ton, but just seemed like he was maybe a star recruiter in the making. That at some point you could imagine how he would really resonate, you know, talking to players coming up and their families and everything like that. But also a guy that obviously knows the game. And what has been your gauge on just up to this point, what he's been able to provide? And maybe I'm not going to ask you to be Brett Bielema here and tell me what his role now is going to spill into, but how do you think maybe that he plays a part in elevating Luke Altmaier and just being around him on a day-to-day. Obviously, he will be now as a co-quarterback coach.
Yeah, I don't know how much is going to change for him day-to-day. I would assume that this title is going to come with some more responsibilities. But he was really tied to those quarterbacks last year. He was really, I think, a title is like assistant quarterbacks coach. So now he just gets a pay raise and gets a title raise. And, Luke Altmaier posted today that Art's a star in the making, or he's going to run college football one day. To a T, like to a man, everyone you talk to, Derek Lon, is, hey, this guy's got it. Like he is really, really got it. No one has said, boy, I don't know, I'm not sure I see it with this guy. Everyone's gone down that road, and I think he's a guy in that quarterback room that Luke Altmaier obviously trusts and values his input. Barry Lunny very much trusts and values his input, and going down the line with Trey Petty, with Carson Boyd, with Michael Clayton to commit in 2026. Art Schakowsky's got relationships all over the place. He heavily recruits New Jersey, which is his home state. He played at IMG in Florida, and he's down there on the road. Typically, guys, when you see some of these younger assistants out on the road recruiting, that really tells you quite a bit about what Brett Bielema and his coaching staff think of those guys. Because you're putting these coaches in high schools and kids' living rooms and building those connections, and you're not putting someone in there that you don't really know. So from an on-field standpoint, to answer your question, Pipes, I don't know how much it is really going to change, but I know that doing this tells me how much they value his voice within that room, and we've heard that throughout, and I think Luke Altmaier's probably been on the record talking about Art. Barry Lunny certainly has.
Well, Joey, let's shift to the recruiting side of things. You get Casey Towman on board today from Alney. He's a top 20 prospect in the state of Illinois. Illinois has a handful of those already. They're obviously, you and Jeremy have reported, and there's been visits that kind of leave the breadcrumb trail of, we know that they're working hard on J.C. Anderson, and Nasir Rankin's another one, is a top player in the state in 2026 that's visited, and Illinois seems to have made a big impression on him. And just overall, I know it's early in 2026, but you see on 24/7 Sports, I know Jeremy tweeted this out today, that as of right now, they have a top 5 class. They're ranked number 5 overall, both by 24/7 and the composite. As things stand right now, there's still a lot of work to be done if they want to be rated that highly. But just what have you made of this early start? And I guess maybe we should start off with just what do you think of the addition of Casey today?
Yeah, I'll start with Casey. He has been on campus a ton. I mean, you're talking summer camps, you're talking game day visits, you're talking junior day visits. I mean, he's been on campus north of 6, 7, 8 times. That tells you something. You know how it goes, Derek. You follow the visits. If someone keeps coming back to a place, they're coming back for a reason. It's always, it's not always 100% commitment rate, but it surely is meaningful how many times they come back. So the writing was on the wall there a little bit with him, but I think there was a point in the winter that he wanted to see, kind of go through the process a little bit, see what was out there. Iowa was interested, Nebraska, go on. Mizzou, I think, had him on campus. You want to kind of see what that is, see what that looks like, and Illinois kept that relationship going and really got an offensive lineman to jump on board. I mean, they have had one commit coming in, but there was kind of a group of guys there. It was like, okay, who's going to be the next one here? Is it going to be Owen Forbes? Is it going to be Gene Reardon? Is it going to be Casey? Who's going to be kind of that one to jump? And will that start maybe a little bit of a domino effect? And he was the one, and just another downstate win for Brett Bielema. He's a big guy, an offensive tackle prospect. He moves well, still pretty raw, but finally an offensive tackle and a high school kid who's 6'7", who isn't raw. They're still trying to grow into who the heck they are. If you're beating out Kirk Ferentz in Iowa for an offensive line commit, that tells you something, right? I mean, those guys, they also know what they're doing in that position room, and to keep him home and another downstate win. Brett Bielema, securing Chicago is really difficult. Everyone recruits the heck out of Chicago. It's hard. There's a lot of talent there, a lot of high-end talent, easy access, a whole 9 yards. You've heard it all in football or basketball, whatever the case is. Everyone kind of knows the challenges there. But Brett Bielema has really done a good job downstate with Caden Fagan and Aiden Lawfrey and Hank Beatty, and he's still obviously pushing for J.C. Anderson's another big one. There you go, and you get Casey. I'm sure I'm missing a guy or two. Jeremy just sent me a list. Braden Trimble, obviously. Downstate doesn't always have a ton of those Power 4 guys, but if they got them, Illinois needs to be a really good destination and a spot that's realistic. And Bielema, to his credit, has come in and really secured a lot of those commitments, and you're seeing those guys make impact. Hank Beatty looks like a really productive wide receiver. Aiden Lawford closed the season really strong. We've seen Caden Fagan. The early words on Braden Trimble have been really, really, really high. We had Brett Bielema on the podcast last week, and he was shouting them out at a pretty high level, and, take it for what it's worth, right? It's just winter workouts, but when you're hearing that for a kid who's only been on campus for 6 weeks or so, you take stock of that and kind of write that one down. So kind of a lot of things going, get in a position that you're wanting to see how some dominoes fall, and you keep that downstate kind of secured for the time being, and see if you can secure it even more with someone like JC.
Joey Wagner is our guest on the Tapman's Towing phone line, IlliniInquirer.com. On the note of JC, Nasir Rankin, how much do you feel like this past season, a 10-win season, is changing the game to where top of the board in terms of the state, those guys are paying legit attention in Illinois, that Illinois is legitimately in the fold, if not the favorite for a guy like that? I'm not putting words in your mouth. I know that Jeremy has a crystal ball in for Rankin as far as Illinois goes, but how much do you think that is playing a factor in addition to everything else that Brett Bielema has done? Because obviously it's not just one thing, relationship building and everything that goes along with it, but we do wonder whether it's basketball, whether it's football, women's basketball, like carrying momentum over from a season of success then to have it play into future recruiting classes. Is that something that you're seeing as well in this 26 group in particular?
Yeah, I talked to a couple of those guys about that at Junior Day, and it matters. I mean, it matters because this is what Brett Bielema has been. You know how this goes, Derek. You don't start recruiting the class of 2026 in, for the most part, late 2024. You're on those guys for a while, and during that course, you're saying, hey, this is what's on the way. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. We know what we can do. And then you go out and do it. And I wish I remembered which of the Junior Day visitors told me, but he said they're the only team that said what they were going to do and went out and did it. And it may have been JC, to be honest with you. So it matters because you're following up what you pitch to these kids about your vision and what can happen. And then a couple other factors go into it. You're returning a lot, so it feels like this momentum just kept going, right? You left Orlando and you kept getting these, Luke Altmaier last year was back before Orlando, but you kept getting these announcements, you kept getting these portal commits, and that's, kind of gave way into getting 2026 commits, and it just feels like it's kind of really loud right now, right? The buzz is really, really loud about what Illinois football is and where it's going, and Brett Bielema's having his fun with that and making sure you'd have to be under a rock to miss it, right, if you kind of keep up with the landscape on social media. So those things play into a factor, and I think, to be honest, the house settlement, the what's coming down the pipe with that this summer, that helps too, because now you're really leveling that playing field even more, and you can be, not to say they weren't competitive, because obviously you look at the recruits they've gotten before the settlement, there's some really good wins in there in the portal, that you get a little bit more in your coffers, you get a little bit more assuredness about what you've got, and you can really be a factor in those things. And Brett Bielema has been on the record about the house settlement and leveling the playing field, and if everything goes in an ideal world, that would help Illinois. So I think that also kind of makes its way into this as well.
Joey, we've asked you before about Brett's social media presence, the fun that he has, but also kind of the motives behind it. I thought it was interesting in the podcast. You and Jeremy obviously did a great job with that on Illini Inquirer. Would recommend checking that out. But I would paraphrase this, but kind of the essence, one of the quotes he had is like, you're trying to fight against the established of mentality for some that Illinois is still Illinois, and we're trying to make it very, very clear that that's obviously not the case anymore. What did you make of kind of his answer? Because he kind of seemed to show his cards a little bit, and that here is my intention and some of the ways that I'm going about it. And obviously beyond it, it's just a guy having some fun here and there, which we are all able to sit back and be entertained by it. But did you learn anything new, or is it just kind of maybe adding to what we kind of already thought as to what's cooking there?
It does add to what I thought. I never thought that Brett Bielema is going on Twitter just to stir the pot for the sake of stirring the pot. I mean, he is going to fight for what he believes in, and he's probably going to have a little fun. I'm sure he's had a little fun with it, right? But I think at the core, and what, to your point, what he kind of explained, is you're trying to bring some more attention nationally to this program because things are happening, right? They're winning a lot of games, and you're getting all these guys back. And if you're going to try to get that attention, then shoot off the biggest firework you've got, right? And try to get people talking about your program a little bit. So I think that's always been what it is, and he's fighting for his program. He's fighting for people to know about it, for people to care about it, for people to not overlook what's happening. And that's not at Illinois fans. I think Illinois fans are very clear as to what's going on here, and I think they really resonate with their head coach who's got a little outward swagger, and he's going to go say, hey, don't forget about us, right? Like, we're doing things here. I think people like that, but I think bigger picture, it's about don't let Illinois get lost in the shuffle because you've always allowed it, because they've always allowed it, because they've been not good. And when you're not good, why should people talk about you other than, kind of the losses, right? So I think at this point it's, hey, talk about us because we're doing good stuff. And if you don't know, I'm going to make sure you're aware of that. And maybe there are opposing fan bases, I would imagine, that are probably like, man, this guy, are you kidding me with him? I mean, whatever. But if you're an Illinois fan, you probably like it. And if you're an opposing fan base and you don't like it, you see it. And I think that's kind of the end goal for Brett Bielema. But the interesting balance to strike here is kind of the identity of what they've built this thing on. Or a big point, I don't know if identity is the right word, is we've heard players, we've heard Brett kind of talk about we got chips on both shoulders. And they've kind of been fighting that, you don't believe in us, well screw you. We're going to go do our thing. And that's just been kind of this, maybe rallying cry, I guess would be a better word. But how do you still have that? How do you still carry those chips on your shoulders when you really believe in where you're going and when you've had the success to maybe change the narrative about your program? And Brett said that's kind of something they're doing every day as coaches, whether it's pairing certain people in drills or kind of pushing people this way or that way. They're still trying to find a way to do that. And I would assume when these top 10 start coming out, when these top 15 start coming out in a couple months, the summer months, we're bored, right, Derek? I mean, you're not. You're all over the place watching any amount of basketball, but you got to do something for content. So there's always way too early, top 25, and maybe now it's just too early, however you want to describe it. And if Illinois is in a position that maybe Brett feels is too low, I would imagine he's going to fire up the Twitter machine and he's going to put word out again, and that's what he's going to do. But it's all in the name of getting people to see what he's got going on here. And I think just objectively, it's good. I mean, they're coming off a 10-win season. You bring back all of these talented players. You add some really good players at key positions in the portal. Some freshmen you think might be able to find their way, maybe a redshirt freshman or a sophomore, a redshirt sophomore, however, and you just kind of keep this thing going a little bit. I just think he wants to light on that.
Joe, I wanted to ask you one more on football. You were over there in Indianapolis for the NFL Draft Combine watching Pat Bryant. Just, I'm sure anytime, anecdotally or just even personally, like someone you cover, you see their rise at a place like Illinois, and you get to know these guys and see them become as productive as Pat Bryant was and have the season that he had and the wins that he had. And then to take a step over in that next stage has got to be really cool, obviously, for them, for someone like you that's got to know them and covered them. So I'm sure that was maybe part of it. But want to also ask you just what it sounded like to get to hear his answers and then some of the athletic testing. I know the 40 wasn't awesome and maybe what people might have hoped it to be. I think will he run again here at a senior day? I want to ask you on that, but just what'd you take away from the experience over there in Indy?
Yeah, there's the professional part of me that is you're trying to have these. Yeah, some of that's on me. You try to have these real conversations at a podium, and you're trying to get answers from guys you've known for 4 years and have talked to. And just full transparency, Pat's been really good with us. I mean, you think about. I think fans notice that too if they watch interviews or consume, kind of some of this content on video. That Iowa was really good for us. Kofi was really good for us. Pat's in that category. Isaiah Williams is in that category. So you like people who are open, transparent, who really work with you and understand your job, and Pat's one of those guys. So you get to know him for a couple of years, and you're trying to have some of these conversations, and it's really cool to see him in that environment, to have that stage and that platform. And the other side of that, for as much as you get rolling on that, you get someone piping up like, "If you talk to the Commanders," like, oh, dude, no one cares. I mean, yeah, maybe.
You just got Devo. Pipe down, buddy.
Oh man, it's every team. Someone will kind of wander up. They cover for maybe it's the Lions or the Eagles. Like, "Have you talked to Philadelphia?" And it's always like, "Yep." How was it? It was good. All right. Well, thanks for stopping by. We're going to keep on with the real conversation here, but it's cool to see him have that opportunity, and people are interested in the guy. I think the 40 time probably you would have liked to see that a little bit faster. If you're talking a possible late day 2 pick, you probably would like to see that in the 4.5. That's the big emphasis for Pat for his training process was to run that 40 and really get that where it was. I would imagine he's going to run that again next week at Illinois Pro Day and see where he can get that number. But at the same time, if you're drafting Pat Bryant because you think he's a speedster receiver who's going to be your Christian Watson deep threat guy, see what I did, Derek? I don't know who I would say for the Bears.
Thank you.
Then you probably got the wrong guy. That's not really his game. But at the same time, you would have liked to see that a little bit faster. So I'm curious what that number looks like next week. But the tape is the tape, and the tape is impressive as a blocker, as a big body wide receiver, as a guy with the big catch radius, consistent clutch, the whole 9 yards. Pat Bryant really for the last 3 years. So it's always cool to see those guys in that atmosphere and in that moment, because not everyone gets invited to the combine. Not everyone gets to, as Pat said, you go into a room for these meetings. Have you met with so-and-so? And you're seeing the guys you watch on Sunday or the GMs who put it all together. And that's just a really cool experience. And it's just kind of part of what this next chapter of life is for these guys. So it's fun to see that and fun to kind of see them in a new element that we haven't seen them in for the last couple of years.
Joey, one more for you. I wanted to ask you about the women's basketball program. We've, of course, had a really good year. It was a disappointing finish to that Michigan game. I know you were there covering senior night, and that you wish they were able to hold on there and push it forward, but still a team that's going to play in the NCAA tournament. I saw the latest bracketology has them as an 8 seed, and also you had some postseason awards today with Kendall Bostic, first team All Big Ten, Genesis Bryant, second team All Big Ten. Adalia McKenzie was an honorable mention. What do you think as far as the takeaway from senior night, but now going into the Big Ten tournament? Is there anything that you think is that you need to see from them? Like, not that they're need to win to get in type of thing, but would a little bit of a run here move their seed line in a significant way as far as that goes? And just what do you think maybe on the table as they're about to go over to Indy in a few days?
Yeah, I thought going into Michigan, if they were able to beat Michigan and you go over and get one in Indianapolis, maybe you could get on that 7th seed. And I think any path that South Carolina is in the second game isn't the only path, right? I mean, that's South Carolina. But I think you go over there to probably play, barring some sort of upset, they probably play Nebraska on Thursday. Depends on the outcome of the Nebraska-Rutgers game. Nebraska should be very comfortably favored in that game. I like Illinois' chances in that. And they played Nebraska. They beat Nebraska a couple weeks ago. Then you run into UCLA, and that was a 15-point game in California. It didn't watch like a 15-point game. There's no moral victories, right? But Illinois was right there with UCLA and gave them all they wanted. Can you recreate some of that magic in Indy? I think a win over UCLA would really make your case to move up a seed line a little bit. So I think those are probably the big things you want to see from them. Is can you go over there and maybe, where are they at? Are they the highest 8th? Are they the second 8th? What are they? I don't know. But if you can find your way off that line, probably similar to a conversation you guys had about men's basketball really before the Michigan game, is to try to, no one wants to be on that 8-9 line. It stinks to be on that line. If you're, a high major team like that, just because what's in front of you. But I think getting to a 7 would be a big deal, and I think they'd obviously have some work to do over there to get that done. Senior night was, it was a celebration for a senior class. Kendall Bostic, Adalia McKenzie, Genesis Bryant, the Cairo coach, Lynn Shupil, who changed everything about that program. I mean, that thing was, you guys know, it was terrible when Shauna Green got here. I mean, absolutely a nightmare. Nancy Faye went 7-77 in the Big Ten during her tenure. That's awful. And there's just not a lot of sell there. How are you pitching people to come be a part of that? And what this senior class did in terms of Makaira and Bren transferring from Dayton with Shauna and Genesis Bryant, who she talked about quitting basketball before she got here. She averaged 5 minutes and 2 points. I mean, that's not, you know how portal commits go, Derek. That's not a portal commit that people are like, oh my goodness, really? You know, I mean, that's not a needle mover. And schools maybe aren't really always interested in that level of production coming out of a high major program. Illinois was. Shauna Green knew her. Obviously, she's been such a key catalyst for this. But now this program's on really good footing. And they're going to be in their second NCAA tournament in 3 years. They've got a good recruiting class coming in. And that doesn't happen without those three coming to town, Kendall Bostic and Adalia McKenzie staying around, and then all coming back for a fifth year. They could have maybe tried to cash in the portal. They could have moved on from basketball with that COVID year, and they came back to run it back one more time. So, like, there's a justified celebration for what they've done for this program, where this program is going, and a lot of it on the backs of them. But on the other side of it, you let a really winnable game against Michigan slip away, and in ways that they just haven't really done in the fourth quarter. The turnovers, the missed shots, they didn't rebound, and that's huge for Shauna Green. It's fundamentals, go box out, rebound, make sure you're not losing the game on the glass. Michigan had big offensive rebounds for kickouts and threes, and it just really got away from them. So they got to get that cleaned up headed into the Big Ten tournament. But, man, this has been a really important group for the future of the program and the president of the program. Shoot, I mean, there's still a lot of opportunity out there.
Joey Wagner, IlliniInquirer.com. Great stuff as always, man. Don't want to keep you too much longer. If you were waiting for a Lante question, you'll have to keep waiting. He wanted to make sure that you weren't able to dog him too much for not being here as one of your interviews, but he was going to duck out early anyway, so he called you on the phone, got you on the line, and then walked out of the building. So
is that what happened? He's got a flight to Florida, doesn't he?
That's what he did. Yeah, right? That's him.
Yeah, I thought, man, I didn't even know Lante's on the other line. I can't believe this. And he gets out of there. Go figure, this guy.
I know. Unbelievable. Mr. Part-Timer. But you're killing it. You're busy. We appreciate the time, man. And I'll catch you at a game here sometime soon.
All right. See you when I see you, Pipes. Take care.
Sounds good, man. You too. I'll see you. Joey Wagner, the great Joey Wagner, IlliniInquirer.com. Good buddy of mine and does great work. Illini football and both sides of basketball, both the men's and the women's. He'll be in Indianapolis covering the women's basketball tournament coming up later this week. All right, we're due for a break. Before we get to that, let me do a little work. Let me tell you about Busey. Refresh, renew, and restore your home as the sunshine comes out and ushering in warmer temperatures. It's time to start focusing on high-impact projects that will give you the most return. Entryways, outdoor spaces, high-traffic rooms like the kitchen. These are quick and budget-friendly home refreshes that can help you ditch those lingering winter doldrums. Take a tip from Mother Nature and turn up the color. You may not be able to make the grass green, but you can certainly add color to your decor. You only have one chance to make a great first impression. While you have the paint out, why not bring out some vibrancy in your vestibule? Freshen up your outdoor area. Let the sunshine in. Cleaning windows and mirrors allow your home to really shine. And cook up a serene space in your kitchen. Whether your home refresh is as simple as decluttering and updating, or whether you need a contractor, Busey's team can help you get started with a home equity loan or a line of credit. Visit with a Busey loan professional at one of their many convenient locations. Go to Busey.com to set up an appointment, or you can call 1-800-67-BUSEY. Busey, member FDIC.
Take charge of the years ahead with a smart, sound investment strategy and business succession plan. Busey Bank's business and wealth management experts help you envision your best future with powerful insights and proven strategies. Building business and growing wealth since 1868. Busey Bank, proud to be the official bank of the Fighting Illini. Member FDIC.
Are you tired of shivering in the winter? Look no further than your local heroes at ABC Heating and Air Conditioning. Hi, this is Gina inviting you to give us a call at 217-352-5400 to book your appointment to make sure your furnaces run safely and efficiently this winter. We've been proudly locally owned and operated and have been serving our community for over 50 years. ABC, always be comfortable. Call me 217-352-5400 to book your appointment today or go to abcheatingandac.com.
Pia's 1609 West Springfield Avenue in Champaign. Enjoy drink specials from Coors and Miller Lite, Twisted Tea, Captain Morgan, and Bullet Rye Bourbon. As we say, go Illini. Great drink specials, terrific pub food like the Slugger Burger, chicken fingers, loaded nachos, and fish on Fridays. Pia's will have a fan bus to watch the Illini. It leaves a half hour before tip-off. As you head to the State Farm Center, get dropped off and picked up in the Front Circle Drive off 1st Street. Pia's 1609 West Springfield Avenue in Champaign.
Okay, Tim Onstad in charge of Dedicated Diesel and Gail Frericks Trucking. Where are we with Dedicated Diesel?
Yeah, we need to get over to the Dedicated Diesel and get those Dixie choppers out. I am instructing Andy over there, whatever Dixie choppers are there right now, to show people what we have invested in them, what our cost is, go $400 over that, and it's theirs.
When it comes to the mowers, you can really get things done quickly on the Dixie chopper, right?
That's for sure.
Oh, yeah. I cut mine down by about 2/3, going from a conventional garden tractor riding mower to a zero-turn Dixie chopper. Went, from 3 hours down to an hour.
And how do we reach Andy?
You can get Andy at 217-328-0562. Catch him on Dedicated Equipment on Facebook. Email him at abowman, BOWMAN, @gftlog.com.
My name is Jim Brookins. I own my lawn care service for over 15 years now. I've met a lot of great people doing this. Most of the people I meet, they become great friends. I do edging, weed eating. I blow everything off so it looks fantastic when I'm done. I believe, in my mind, I do the best. Usually my average range is usually around $40 per yard. You can call me 217-621-8807. 217-621-8807.
At Pards in Urbana, the boots just keep on coming. They're known for their huge collection of men's cowboy boots, women's cowgirl boots, kids' boots, and even shoes. If you're searching for top footwear brands, look no further than Pards. They carry a wide variety, including Ariat, Dan Post, Smoky Mountain, Roper, Double H, and more. And if socks or accessories are what you need, they've got all your high-quality essentials. Since 1968, Pards has been serving their customers with high-quality merchandise. And if you haven't been to Pards in a while, a lot has changed. Go check them out just off University Avenue in Urbana.
Sarah Champagne's Ben Quattrone on keeping his employees.
It's got to be the place to work. We have to pay the best. We have to treat people the best. Some of the guys wanted to order pizza the other day. Well, we bought 30 Papa Del's pizzas. BMW had the best month they've ever had. They said, can we have a cookout? Saturday, I cooked like 50 ribeye steaks. And they were expecting like cheeseburgers, burgers and hot dogs and stuff. Like, if I'm eating steak, you're eating steak. We both eat steak, we both eat hamburger.
Learn more at sarahchampagne.com.
Back on the drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. We got some good college hoops games tonight, a few that matter in the Big Ten. I will be interested in seeing what Purdue looks like, seeing if they can get back into form. They did have the bounce-back win against UCLA at Mackey Arena. It was a close game, but they pulled it out down the stretch. Huge outing for Trey Kaufman-Renn in that one. Now they get Rutgers, very feisty in their last game at Michigan. They exploded offensively. That's been one thing where they've been inconsistent all year now. Obviously, Dylan Harper not being as able to be in the lineup. That's something that maybe has been sacrificed. But we know when he's going that he's tough to stop from getting to the rim and making a ton of plays. And we'll see. Purdue's favored by 10.5. I would expect them to handle their business and then come in here with some good vibes for that game on Friday. I know we had someone yesterday ask this, and we didn't get a chance to get to it. But is there an advantage, and if so, how much for Illinois with Purdue having to play 2 games this week, Illinois getting a full week of prep, extra rest? Do you think there's much to that, Kyle, versus Purdue, who's having to play a little bit more as of tonight and then quicker turnaround to face the Illini? I do think that not saying it played like a huge role in the Michigan outing, but Michigan was in a stretch of games where they had played maybe 3 in 7 days or whatever it ultimately was. Illinois had a little bit more prep time, certainly looked like the fresher team, looked like a team that was able to give more effort. I don't want to take away from Illinois or try to put any kind of excuse in there as to why Michigan didn't play up to the task at hand and got hammered on the glass and whatnot. But what do you think as far as that goes with Purdue?
I think there's something to it, and it might not necessarily be as simple as, well, Illinois has more time to prep and Purdue has less time. I think it's just for Illinois specifically, this little stretch is coming at the perfect time, as we've talked about. I just think this team needs some time off to practice, to get everybody in the same spot. I think you've seen that the last 2 games, even though that Iowa game, when you started to see some changes made, they really only had 2 days coming back from New York, so it was even more impressive. But then you get a little extra time, probably an extra day than you've had for most games leading up to Michigan, and now you get a full week to prepare for this game. I just think from Illinois' perspective, to get everybody that's now starting to click and guys starting to settle back into roles, to have everybody healthy, available, and to continue to implement some of the changes that we've talked about. Even Brad Underwood said they still want to keep adding offensively, which I think is going to be really important. I think from that standpoint for Illinois, it's a perfect time to have this, and to just, like even Lon's been talking about KJ, maybe he's so run down now because he's played for so long, even dating back to the summer, just for a guy like him to maybe have a rest day in there. And some of these guys, I mean, Tommy has probably not still back up to full conditioning after barely being in practice for a month, and you've heard Brad talk about that, just to give him a couple days off and rest, and I think that can be beneficial from Illinois' part. I'm not sure if at this point in the season it makes much of a difference, the prep time. I think you've been going through this all year with certain games, but I think for Illinois, I don't mind seeing them have a little extra time just internally to continue to round into form here.
No doubt about that. Yeah, I was looking back at what it exactly was for Michigan. They played a Friday, Monday, Thursday, Sunday, and it was a quick turn from that Thursday into Sunday. Now, Illinois, like you mentioned, had a quick turnaround, having to go from a late Saturday night game, get home after midnight against Duke, and then right away you're into game prep mode for Iowa, and not a lot of time there on a Tuesday, but you did have time there afterwards to get ready for Michigan. I think there is something to be said for, just being fresh in terms of your body. That's especially for Illinois with, Tommy's ankle and just upping his conditioning and everything like that. But yeah, maybe even some wear and tear management, like you said, with KJ or whatever it needs to be. I'd also love the fact that Illinois has plenty of days. They should be getting over to the State Farm Center every day to shoot on those rims.
Yeah.
Like get that going in terms of the rhythm at your home building and all of that. So I think something is to be said for Illinois side of it, like you were saying. I don't know that Purdue's going to be totally affected by it unless it's some kind of, to the wire game against Rutgers, and there is something to be taken away in terms of them being worn out or having to expend a ton of energy. But there's enough time after tonight that, you get full day Wednesday, Thursday, and then they play Friday here in Champaign. That's enough to be able to, and it's not a long trip either from West Lafayette over to Illinois. But I think the way it goes, the safe bet is I bet Purdue's going to be fully ready for that game. I think Illinois is going to be fully ready for that game. I expect Purdue to be coming off back-to-back wins, Illinois coming off back-to-back wins, and you tip it up and see who can get it done. But I like where Illinois trended of late, especially we talked about it yesterday, the fact of Kylan's playing with a lot of confidence. Kylan's got his swagger back, his toughness back, the the confidence he has on defense right now, and then to take, I'm sure there is something also maybe, Kylan being able to watch a ton of Braden Smith film or whatever all the just the little details, the little intricacies of a preparation can be factored in there. But yeah, I think that it's going to be two squads that are going to be plenty familiar with each other, even though they haven't played each other yet this year, but able to get up to the task and ready to tip it up, and hopefully Illinois handles their business at home.
Just feel like it sets up really well for Illinois to have this big home game here, because I think this is the one that can really get you, I'm not going to say fully bought back in terms of like, okay, let's start planning the Final Four run, but to have some real momentum and to really ignite the fan base back fully behind this team heading into the postseason. I think it sets up so perfectly for this game to be the one, because I think that's really what it's going to tell me more than anything is, okay, if you come home now and lose to Purdue for the 6th straight time and you shoot it terribly from 3, and now what home loss would that be? Would that be your 5th home loss this year?
Let's see, you've lost to Michigan State,
4th.
USC, and
Maryland, Michigan State. Yeah, Tennessee, and now this would be 5.
Yeah.
You've lost 4 home games already. But even beyond that, just the fact that, okay, here we go again. They played well for 2 games. Now here's the 18% shooting night. Here's the turnovers. Here's all this stuff. Here's the inconsistency again. There's no way I can trust this team heading into the postseason. This was the chance to really say, okay, 3 in a row to end the year, real momentum, some of the inconsistency behind us, protect home court, play a team of the caliber that you're going to see in the postseason in Purdue. I mean, this is a 4 seed in an NCAA tournament. That's a team of the caliber that Illinois will probably have to see if you're a 7 seed or a 6 seed. Of course, you wouldn't be if you lose the game, but just in like a round of 32 type of matchup is what Purdue would be. And I just think it would change so much if you can beat this team. And it's back-to-back wins against top 5-ish teams in the Big Ten. And let's say Kylan has another great performance. Let's say, KJ and Will and Tommy all play well. Let's say Trey White continues to do what he's done. And it feels like, okay, now this team is fully healthy. Things are clicking into place. Feels like everybody is where they need to be. Let's see what happens in the tournament. I feel confident that this team can be dangerous. I'm starting to feel like, okay, this team's got something at the right time. And if you lose this game, I just think it's the same exact thing we've thought for 2 months. Like, okay, well, any night it could be any different type of thing, but my trust level heading into either tournament, very low.
Yep. Fully agree with all that. I think if you lose to Purdue, you're playing in that 8-9 in the Big Ten tournament. And we could talk about different matchups and what they would mean. I've already voiced what I feel like that Indiana game maybe would mean versus maybe an Ohio State. And not saying that Ohio State would be if you lose to Purdue at home and you face Ohio State in that first game, Ohio State's talented enough, obviously, to beat you. It would feel like a coin flip. I can't talk. Coin flip kind of game, and that's not what you want this time of year. So I'm with you, just on the vibes of it, the feeling of it. That if they take care of this game, and I'm not saying take care of it like it's a definite you should win. I think it's a challenging game, one that you could easily lose just as much as you could win. But it would allow me to have confidence, the fans to have confidence. I think for the team to have its swagger back, to have something where they are just very clearly trending in the right direction, playing maybe their best basketball or some of their best basketball of the season. And that's something that would just give you the vibe, not only externally but internally, that they can go on a legit run. Are they talented enough to say to still like show up in March Madness and find a way to put it together? But the confidence that it would happen would be pretty low if this is still that roller coaster ride. Oh wait, they got to figure it out. Oh wait, no. Oh, they're broken. But wait, nah, actually maybe not. Like, it does hopefully turn into something where they're stringing it together. And I think for the reasons we talked about and what you can take away from Michigan, if this is truly a better defensive team, if this is truly a team that can rely a decent amount on its veterans, if it's a team that has playmaking beyond just KJ to take some pressure off, just get offense in different ways, Will Riley's been pretty consistent here recently, which is great. I think if that's something that he can push forward is another thing that makes this team able to be more trustworthy if that's the way it plays itself out. One thing I wanted to ask you, Kyle, because I've run into the stat a bunch here recently on social media. I was listening to another podcast, and it came up. I'm sure you've seen the whole Illinois is, 16-2 when they shoot 27% from three. What do you make of that stat? Are you putting much into that in terms of, is it just as simple as, hey, if Illinois has some three-point shooting positive regression or whatever you want to call it, that all is well, that they can beat anybody type of thing?
I think it shows you the bar, how low the bar really is for this team to be good as a three-point shooting team. Like, it really is. If this team is right and they're healthy and they've got everybody and they play the way they have defensively for a chunk of the season, at least the healthiest parts of the year, and the offensive rebound like they did against Michigan and like they've done for most of the year, you don't have to shoot 40% for this team to be really good and hard to beat. But the key part of that stat is 16-2 when you shoot 27% from three. They've played 30 games. 12 out of 30 games they haven't shot 27% from three. Wow. So what's to tell you that they're going to shoot even 27% from three for 3 straight games in the tournament?
Yeah.
The stats say they're not going to. They're that bad from three. I think we know what this team is as a shooting team. When the shots are going in and when this team is even a slightly above average three-point shooting team, not asking them to be elite, like average to slightly above average, I think they're awesome. They just aren't very often. And so to expect that that's going to be the case, or to expect that, well, all you got to do is shoot it like you haven't for half the season, I think the stats would tell you that's probably something you shouldn't hold your breath on.
That's well put. Yeah, I like the way you frame that as far as just how often it hasn't been 27%, which when you put it in perspective like that, we know this has been just a egregiously bad shooting team. So not that it's totally surprising, but 12 games of below 27%. One thing that came to my mind, and not necessarily the people that are latching onto that stat, or even if, and as far as Illinois themselves, like, hey, we just got to shoot just a not high bar level of threes in terms of percentage wise, and we'll be in a pretty good shape to beat a lot of people. I look at it as far as what I've seen recently. I look at the defense for Illinois. I look at the rebound. I look at the effort and the toughness that they played with against Michigan. That's where I would be focusing my attention, to where I think that heightens the floor. I think that gets Illinois closer to where they can win a game when they don't shoot very well, or it'll keep them in a game until the threes start to fall, or until they get to the rim enough, or whatever it might be. I also think it's a team that could score on a given night, but if they aren't defending, I mean, we were going through the stats. There was like almost a month stretch in February where they were the worst high major defense as far as the analytics went. So for me, it's, can you be a good defense? Can you be a team that can make it tough to score, whether it's the adjustments, whether it's Kylan stepping up, getting Merez back for more rim protection, and just seeing how much of a value it was to just annihilate Michigan on the glass and just have that toughness about you. That's where I personally would focus this would fix Illinois, or this would raise Illinois' floor, or this would make Illinois more apt to go on a run, than just being like, yeah, if the threes do fall, then they'll be great.
Couldn't agree more with that, because that is the thing. Based on what we know about this team as a shooting team, you can't expect them to string 3 or 4 even good shooting nights, even average three-point shooting nights together. What has told you all year that that's something that's going to magically happen in March? If it does, Illinois is going to be really dangerous. I don't think it's happening. So you do need to find a way to win on the nights that's not going to be the case, or just who you are as a three-point shooting team. Like you said, you need to raise the floor of still being able to beat a high-caliber team on a night where you maybe don't get to that 27% mark, so that then the next night, if you can shoot it that well, then we know that this team is really dangerous, even if they're average shooting the ball. But you have to enter the postseason expecting that that's not going to happen on a night or two. And if you can squeak past that game, then that's how you can build a run. Because if this team is relying on, well, shots have to go in tonight for us or we're going to be bounced in the tournament, well, good luck. I think they're probably a first weekend exit because we know shots haven't gone in a whole lot.
Right. And I think if we're starting to work our minds into, if this is going to be a 7 seed and you're going to face a 2 seed in the second round if you get there, I wouldn't have a ton of confidence. Oh, well, if they just shoot 29% in that game against a 2 seed, that they're going to win, right? Like, it would take a lot more than that than to have the answer. I think that part of what we've seen recently, again, defense, toughness, rebounding, veterans stepping up and doing different. It's not like Kylan Boswell's been lighting it up from 3, but he has been a valuable piece here recently. Those are things that I think help you get closer to being able to pull that off and go on a run. All right, one more break, return, wrap of the show. This is The Draft.
Mental health challenges can take a toll on a person dealing with someone with serious issues. It can be difficult trying to find strategies and help someone you care about. NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, is holding a free family-to-family 8-session course that will help answer those questions. The class is held on Tuesday evenings from 6:30 to 9 and starts March 25th at OSF Healthcare in Urbana. This course not only is for family members, but significant others, caregivers, police officers, teachers, and anyone who cares for individuals that have mental health conditions. You'll learn about how to manage your stress better, gain information on current treatments and therapies, along with learning about local mental health resources. The NAMI Family to Family course not only provides information and strategies for taking care of that person you love, but also to find out you're not alone. You can register now at NAMIChampaign.org.
At ABC, it's your chance to get that air conditioner and furnace you've needed. ABC Heating and Air Conditioning can now offer 12 months same as cash, 9.9% financing, or up to $2,000 cash back on residential Amana units. Whether you need a furnace and or air conditioner, you can take advantage of this deal through the end of March. ABC means always be comfortable. Let locally and family-owned ABC take care of you. Call Gina today at 217-352-5400 or visit abcheatingandac.com.
Hi, I'm Tyler Weaver, president of Carpet Weavers Flooring and Furniture Gallery. It's time to come home to Carpet Weavers. We don't want you to just like your new floors. We want you to love them. From waterproof floors and carpet to furnitures and design advice, we've got a team of experts on your side. We'll get you the best price and the best quality products. And complete your home with furniture and accessories. Buy it all with free financing too. Come home to Carpet Weavers, where floors, furniture, and family meet.
Finishing up on the drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Mitch said on the Max Twin City Recycling text line, needed UCLA to lose to Northwestern last night. They're still projected as a 7 seed, both in terms of UCLA is a really important one going forward